The hot topic right now seems to revolve around Grand Prix riders moving to America, with discussions stirring up every time a European rider makes the transition. It's a common narrative in the media that all GP riders dream of racing in the US, but in reality, only a small percentage, perhaps around 5%, of European riders seriously consider this path. This statistic has likely remained consistent since the 1970s, when the first riders from Europe began testing the waters in America. At MX Large, we've often discussed this trend: the ones who went, the ones who didn't, and those who might have been better off staying in Europe. Riders like J.M. Bale, Greg Albertin, Grant Langston, Ben Townley, Christophe Pourcel, Tyler Rattray, Ken Rosson, Chad Reed, Hunter and Jet Lawrence, and Jorge Prado all had their sights set on the American circuit from the beginning. For these riders, many from countries outside of Europe like Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand, the American Supercross and motocross scene was the ultimate dream, with Europe serving as a stepping stone. Then, there's the French connection to Supercross, deeply influenced by events like the legendary Bercy Supercross. This event, featuring superstars like Bailey, Johnson, Ward, Stanton, McGrath, and Stewart, has inspired generations of young French riders to aspire to race in America. French riders like David Vuillemin, Dylan Ferrandis, Marvin Musquin, and Tom Vial all grew up in the Bercy atmosphere, and it's no coincidence that France has produced so many riders keen on crossing the Atlantic. In fact, this weekend, a young French rider may watch Jet Lawrence in action at Bercy and ignite their own dream of racing in AMA Supercross someday. Of course, American Supercross has its appeal, and for riders like Lucas Koenen or Kay DeWolf, the allure of competing against the best in the AMA Supercross Championship is undeniable. It's only natural for a talented young rider to consider the challenge and excitement of a new arena. However, not every top GP rider shares that dream. Take Jeremy Seewer, for example. He's expressed interest in the American scene, but the lifestyle didn't quite suit him. Living in a country as scenic and clean as Switzerland, it's understandable why he might choose to stay close to home rather than uproot his life. And then there are legends like Stefan Everts. Back in the early 1990s, he considered making the jump to the US, but injuries during that period changed his course, allowing him to stay in Europe and ultimately become the GOAT of GP racing, a legacy he wouldn't trade for anything. Not all riders have the American dream. Some, like Todd Waters, actually preferred the European GP circuit over the US scene. He recently shared that racing around Europe was more appealing to him than competing in America, underscoring that the desire to stay or go is highly individual. Many young European riders look up to Jeffrey Hurlings, Tim Geiser, Romain Fevre, or Jeremy Seewer, and aspire to excel in the GPs, not the American circuit. It's easy to get caught up in the hype of European riders heading to America, but the truth is that for most, staying in Europe and competing in the GPs is just as rewarding. That said, there is an undeniable thrill when a European rider like Dylan Ferrandis succeeds in America, achieving a lifelong dream that he might not have realized had he stayed in the GP paddock. However, the path to America isn't always paved with success. Many GP riders who moved to the US found themselves plagued with injuries or struggled to adapt to the unique demands of Supercross, sometimes cutting their careers short. Supercross is a specialized discipline, and not every GP rider is suited for its challenges. Some riders might have been better off focusing on the GPs, where their skills are better utilized. Back in the 1990s, European riders were rare in the US paddock. Outside of Stefan Everts, American teams weren't particularly interested in bringing Europeans on board. But times have changed. The depth of talent in Europe has grown, and the technical expertise of GP riders is at an all-time high. Nowadays, there are at least a dozen European riders who could hold their own in the American circuit, with MxActu as a prime example of a successful crossover. Dylan Ferrandis is another case in point. When he signed with an American team, he'd only won a single GP but went on to win 2 AMA motocross titles in the US. It's likely he wouldn't have achieved an MX2 or MXGP title back in Europe, with competitors like Hurlings, Caroli, Geiser, and Prado dominating the scene. Ferrandis' story is a testament to how finding the right fit can make all the difference. Consider Josh Coppens, who was the second best rider in the world at one point, yet when he showed up at A1 and a few other AMA Supercross rounds, he was virtually unknown in the paddock. Times have certainly changed since then. Today, riders like Hurlings, Geiser, Fevre, and Seewer are well known in the American scene, thanks to the international popularity of MXGP and the incredible performances that have elevated its profile over the past 15 years. With the evolution of European circuits and an increase in skill level, many MxActu riders now have the potential to succeed in America, though only a select few will make the move. It's a complex decision that involves more than just talent. Lifestyle, personal goals, and injury risks all play a role. But for the select few who dream of America and make it happen, it's an exciting journey to watch unfold. In conclusion, while some GP riders are undoubtedly drawn to the American circuit, let's not overstate the trend. European racing still holds immense appeal, and hundreds of young riders look up to GP stars like Herlings, Geiser, and Fevre, aspiring to make a name for themselves in the GP world. The exchange between European and American talent will likely continue, but it's not the wholesale migration that some might believe. European riders like Ferrandis who make it big in the US are the exception, not the rule, and their successes add an extra layer of excitement to the international motocross scene.